2.7.
With me in the studio today, I have Richard, who's a pilot, and Bryn, who's an air traffic controller. And they are going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions about flying and air travel. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, we're going to start with you, Richard. The first question is, what weather conditions are the most dangerous when flying a plane?
Probably the most dangerous weather conditions are when the wind changes direction very suddenly. This tends to happen during thunderstorms and hurricanes, and it's especially dangerous during takeoff and landing. But it's pretty unusual. I've been flying for 37 years now, and I've only experienced this 3 or 4 times.
What about turbulence? Is that dangerous?
It can be very bumpy and very uncomfortable, but it isn't dangerous. Even strong turbulence won't damage the plane. Pilots always try to avoid turbulence, but it can sometimes occur without any warning, which is why we always advise passengers to wear their seatbelt all the time during the flight.
Which is more dangerous, takeoff or landing?
Both takeoff and landing can be dangerous. They're the most dangerous moments of a flight. Pilots talk about the critical 8 minutes, the 3 minutes after takeoff, and the 5 minutes before landing. Most accidents happen in this period, but I would say that takeoff is probably slightly more dangerous than landing. There is a critical moment just before takeoff when the plane is accelerating, but it hasn't yet reached the speed to be able to fly. If the pilot has a problem with the plane at this point, he or she has very little time, maybe only a second, to abort the takeoff.
Are some airports more dangerous than others?
Yes, some are, particularly airports with high mountains around them and airports in countries with older or more basic navigation equipment. For some difficult airports, like, let's say Kathmandu, they only allow very experienced pilots to land there. And for some of these airports, pilots have to practice on a simulator first before they are given permission to land a plane there.
Thanks, Richard. Over to you, Bryn. What personal qualities do you think you need to be an air traffic controller?
I think confidence is number one. You need to be a self-confident person. You have to be sure of yourself and of the decisions you're making.
Most people imagine that being an air traffic controller is very stressful. Do you agree?
Actually, on a daily basis, the job isn't as stressful as people think. Obviously, it's true that stressful situations do arise, but when you're very busy, you just don't have time to get stressed.
Why is it important for pilots and controllers to have good, clear English?
English is the official language of air traffic control. We communicate with pilots using very specific phrases like runway, wind, cleared for takeoff, turbulence, traffic ahead, to your left, to your right, things like that. And it's true that you could just learn these specific phrases. But then in an emergency, you don't know what language you might need. It's much less predictable, which is why it's vital for pilots and air traffic controllers to speak really good, clear English.
If I could just interrupt here, in fact, there have been several air crashes that happened because the air traffic controller misunderstood something that the pilot had said in English, or vice versa, because their pronunciation wasn't clear enough.
Yes, that's right.
Finally, people tend to think that most pilots and air traffic controllers are men. Would you say that was true?
Not in air traffic control. There are lots of women. It may not be 50-50, but there are plenty of us.
It's true about pilots, though. I mean, there are some women pilots, but it's still pretty much a male-dominated job, I'd say.
Why do you think that is?
People say it's because men have a better sense of direction.
Very funny.
Richard, Bryn, thank you very much.
2.2. 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board this flight to Hong Kong. Please place all carry-on luggage in the overhead compartments or underneath the seat in front of you. We ask that you please fasten your seatbelts and, for safety reasons, we advise you to keep them fastened throughout the flight.
2. We also ask that you make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright and locked positions for takeoff. Please turn off all personal electronic devices, including laptops and cell phones. We remind you that smoking is prohibited for the duration of the flight. 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask for your attention for the following safety instructions. Please read the safety information card located in the seat pocket in front of you. There are 6 emergency exits on this aircraft, all marked with exit signs. Take a minute to locate the exit closest to you. Note that the nearest exit may be behind you.
4.
The safety information card is in the seat pocket in front of you. Please read it. It shows you the equipment carried on this aircraft for your safety. Your life jacket is located under your seat. In the unlikely event of a water landing, place the life jacket over your head, fasten the straps at the front, and pull them tight. Do not inflate the jacket inside the aircraft. As you leave the aircraft, pull down on the red tabs to inflate the vest. If necessary, the life jacket can be inflated by blowing through these tubes.